Earth as a singular planet. In fact, it is anything but. For this is a story not of a universe,
but a multiverse.
Where universes and planets, such as Earth, were replicated and mirrored across a vibrating, infinite plane. Some barely different from the next.
Others drastically so.
This is DC On Screen. Every week, Dave and Jason talk about the multiverse of DC properties on film and television. But be warned, if it's been officially released, you can expect they'll spoil it.
Welcome to this episode of DC On Screen. I'm your host, David C. Robertson. My co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
And Batman the Animated Series turned 25 this month, which makes me feel ridiculously old.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for the first run. Mm-hmm. At the very least, I would tape it because it came on too early on Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
One of our listeners, Nathan Wobbly Boots 85 on Twitter, suggested we do an episode like this, and of course Scott over on Twitter of the Suicide Squad cast egged us on. We are going to do top 10 favorite Batman the Animated Series episodes. Included in this list is the new Batman Adventures. Not included are the in continuity films Batman: The Mask of the Phantasm, Batman and Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero, or not that it would be there anyway, Mystery of the Batwoman.
Right. That was never in contention.
Yeah, no, that was actually I just thought about it as I was writing down that intro.
Right.
Just so you guys know, I have synopses for the top 10 episodes, and I got them right off of Wikipedia and altered them not one bit.
There you go.
Full transparency on that. I didn't have time for all that. I went through probably the entirety of the episode guides. Like, I know I did. Totally went through the entirety of these episode guides. Mm-hmm. And I wrote down about 40 that were my absolute favorites out of 109 episodes. And I systematically weeded episodes out until I got down to about 20, and then split those into top 10 and honorable mentions. And it was hard, man. Like it was a journey wrought with tears. Mm-hmm. Just remembering certain bits, thinking about this animation. Sometimes the animation being worse really was the defining factor.
Oh, that can happen.
Yeah, sometimes it was, something as small as the third act just didn't really live up to what I felt like it should have, and it got knocked into the honorable mentions. It was a cutthroat thing. Obviously this is all subjective, and I don't think you necessarily have a top 10.
No,
though.
Not.
So this was mostly just mine, really. But
we've talked about our top 10 on several occasions, but it's been more rambling than anything else.
Yeah,
and
it's easy to throw in a top 10.
Formalized into a top 10. It's just been us talking about it. But also thinking about doing a top 10, or 10 favorite is probably really the best term. I don't know if there's a way to do it incorrectly. Like I said, you had 40 episodes. Yeah. And if you had picked any 10 of those episodes at random, I might have looked at the top quarter of it and thought, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. This was like...
A lot of them resonate so deeply that it's just hard to believe any of them aren't the best sometimes. Yeah. I know it's a very Homer kind of attitude, but it's still... That's how it is.
Yeah. It was a little gut churning for me. It was hard to pull those out. Some of the honorable mentions stayed in the top 10 till like the last minute, where I was sitting there going like, "Oh God, what do I choose? What do I choose? And it just come down to something really just minuscule. Like, well, this wouldn't be a great episode except for the fact that this was there. And you'll understand a little bit more, I think, when we get into that, because we will have I am going to mention the top 10 honorable mentions because I just feel like I have to, even though I won't really go into probably won't go into as deep as deeply as I do the others.
Sure.
But you know me, I'm sick. I'm sick, Jason.
This is a good sickness to have.
I guess so. It should be noted though. I also looked at like a lot of other top 10 lists. Like after I made my list, I looked at a lot of other top 10 lists online, you know, like the Go Mojo or whatever the hell that's called. A lot of different ones. And there were some that were just like obvious that like people like automatically put on there. And then there were others that I'm just like, wow, how could they have not put that on there? Why would they have chosen this? And then, you know, obviously others where it was just like, well, that makes sense, but because it set a precedence, but it's not going on my list.
Yeah.
So anyway. Also, if I
That's
happen
good,
to
though.
cry, forgive me. Because talking about some of this stuff, sometimes I get a little...
Yeah, I think anyone that's really invested in this list is going to feel you on that one.
Yeah. I mean, Batman the Animated Series, like, while the 89 Batman movie was my first real introduction to the character, Batman the Animated Series came to inform so much of what I love about Batman. And, you know, even if it wasn't the first to do something, in a lot of ways it perfected it. So, you know, yes, I can enjoy The Dark Knight Returns, but I'm still going to go, but... That's fine. That's good. That's a really cool take, but...
Yeah. I mean, overall, the series kind of... It struck this wonderful tone where it took itself seriously in a way that I don't think many things have since, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Even the darker versions of these things that get a lot of discredit for going so dark. I mean, especially like the Nolan version even got some credit for going dark. I don't think it necessarily went any more dark than BTAS did.
It didn't. I don't think it did.
There's it went a little darker with... And here I'm just taking shots, but it went dark. It went dark with like Bruce Wayne's commitment to being Batman. But other than that, it just
yeah,
it didn't go nearly as far as this tiny animated series that meant so much did.
Yeah. So anyone who doesn't want to stick it out necessarily, if you want to make sure that I'm not crazy or something before we start on this thing, let me just assure you, Prophecy of Doom is not on this list, nor is I've Got Batman in My Basement or Tiger. So,
or that one where Killer Croc and Babyface are in love.
You know what? Hey, Baby Doll, but yeah.
Baby Doll, thank you. Oh, Babyface is the giant Brave and the Bold thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the Baby Doll was in the top 40. She annoyed me, but that bit at the end when she sees herself in the mirror. Oh man,
that part's rough.
But,
that's touching. But her thing with Killer Croc was just all kinds of weird.
Yeah. Well, that was a different episode.
I know.
So, I mean, you know.
Love Me a Croc or something. I forget what it's called.
Yeah. Love Be a Croc.
Yeah.
Something like that. Man.
All right, so you're not getting any of
know.
that. Just hang in there.
Yeah, so don't worry about all that. And, you know, as per usual with DC on Screen, you can expect some diversions. But I guess we'll start off on number 10.
Ooh, starting at the bottom of the list.
Yeah. No, these are in order. I actually toiled on this. These the top 10 are in order.
They're in order.
Yeah.
Do you want to be like
10.
the show that starts at number 1 and goes down, just increasing the lack of care of anyone who's listening the entire time? We could be groundbreaking.
I thought we would change, you know, just for this one episode.
We just change a format that exists for an entire for perfectly good reason.
Yeah.
For no reason. All right, go ahead.
I mean, usually we start the show at about minute number 10, and we're still talking about the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, they're not going to get to DC. But no, here we go. Number 10, The Man Who Killed Batman.
Fantastic.
This was written by Paul Dini, directed by Bruce Timm. Get used to those names, because that's inadvertently wound up being like... Because I actually couldn't remember who all wrote everything. I looked it up. I went to the Batman, the DCAU Wikia, and kind of grabbed some facts and stuff that I thought was interesting about the shows, including the writers and the directors. And a lot of the ones that I chose were pretty much Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. Or at the very least, Paul Dini.
Yeah.
So, when small-time gang member Sidney the Squid Debris seemingly kills Batman by accident, he gets involved with gangs all over Gotham, as well as the Joker and Rupert Thorne, none of whom believe his story about everything that is happening is by preposterous happenstance. This is a delightful episode, and it's one of those episodes for me where it's like, I kind of feel myself a little in there, where it's like, I've always said, I don't understand when people are like, "Oh, I don't relate to this superhero because he isn't whatever I am." Because I've just been like, I don't care, whatever is superhero. I don't relate to him anyway.
Right.
I'm a schlub. But this is one of those episodes where the ordinary mixes with the extraordinary, and this little, as Joker might put it, this Weasley little gunsel, inadvertently stumbles upon Off in the Bat, or so he thinks, and I just adore this episode. And it's all so farcical. It's all so ridiculous. No one believes him, and I love that you see like the heartbreak from Bullock. You see the heartbreak of Joker.
Yeah.
The episode makes you feel bad for the Joker losing his hated enemy.
Yeah, it actually does. Before he says who's
dude,
for Chinese.
Yeah.
Lest you forget.
And also one of my favorite lines from, I've got some quotes written down here too. One of my favorite lines from the series that I always remember is Bullock talking to Harleen Quinzel, posing as a lawyer for Sid. Bullock says, "Hey, don't I know you?" And Harley goes, "I believe I served you a subpoena once."
Right.
It was a small subpoena.
It was a small subpoena. I remember that. It has a great visual gag. Where there's like a brawl that breaks out after they're celebrating Sid's achievement, and then the tough guy comes up and is like, "Well, I could beat the tough guy in Gotham." Anyway, so it starts a whole fight in the bar, and then the police come up, and that's how part of the episode develops. But part of it is like the guy who runs this bar is so used to criminal activity that while everyone's fighting and destroying everything in the entire bar, he's just eating peanuts the entire time.
Yeah.
Just like eating one peanut after another. And then one guy falls kind of in his area, and he just like lightly shoves the bowl of peanuts on top of the guy's head, and you hear, "Ow!"
Yeah.
Good visual gag.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. It's a simple thing, but it worked.
Absolutely. A lot of great stuff from Joker in this episode. A lot of great quotes. A lot of a really good performance by Hamill as usual. But I feel like he really brought it this episode. Where they're robbing the bank and he's like, "Where is he? He's never been this late before." There's a certain rhythm to these things, and he even kind of almost gets close to breaking the fourth wall. I cause trouble. He shows up. We have some laugh, and the game starts all over again.
Right.
Only now, thanks to you, I've got this terrible feeling that he's really not coming.
Yeah.
It's just like he's so sad.
Followed by like Harley coming out with probably $1 million worth of stuff on her arms and head.
Yeah.
Jewelry. And him just, "Put it back,"
Yeah. Without Batman, crime has no punchline, Joker says.
Yeah. Which is fantastic.
Oh, man.
That should be
great.
Honestly, anyone who's writing the Joker, has written the Joker, will write the Joker, should have had, or should have, that line on their board. Like, every time they walk into the room and that's a part of their character, that should be there.
I personally think the storyboards, because I've got that book, Batman Animated. It's a fantastic book. If you haven't read it, you should go to Amazon right now. It's called Batman Animated. And they have the storyboards for the funeral sequence where Joker is giving the eulogy. And they have like all of the pertinent mannerisms and just the pertinent bits for emphasis of the eulogy underneath. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyone writing the Joker or drawing the Joker should just have that photocopied and pasted to their wall. And by the way, this is going to be a long episode anyway, probably, so I won't get into the eulogy, but the eulogy is fantastic.
No, the eulogy, there's not a lot of monologue in BTAS, I think. Overall, it's pretty back and forth kind of series. That was a great one, though. If they only did it rarely, they did it extremely well there.
Yeah.
And it is still cut back and forth, like a bunch of confused henchmen and Harley crying, like over crying.
Yeah. Harley's great. You know what's great about you, Puddin'? You really put the fun in funeral.
Yeah. And then he just smiles and like touches her cheek and walks off.
Yeah.
This is like 2 hours after he's threatened domestic violence.
Yeah. There's a great bit with Rupert Thorne where he's talking to Sid, and Thorne says, "So the famous Sid the Squid is nothing but a pathetic victim of circumstance. Just how stupid do you think I am? Excuse me? You think I didn't hear the rumors of the third-rate stubble bum who rubbed out the Batman? And now you say you accidentally made a fool of the Joker? Nobody's that lucky or stupid. Yes, I am. Honest."
Yeah.
I love this episode so much. Even down to the organ playing the Batman theme when Batman actually shows up to save Sidney from Thorne.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll get you out of Gotham, Sidney, in a pine box. I love Rupert Thorne too. He's a recurring pop-up in my top 10.
You do love Rupert.
I don't know why. I just do.
Just a well-done gangster, mob boss kind of thing.
Yeah, but I like that Sid is even so likable in this episode that even Batman is like, yeah, you're a criminal piece of shit, but I don't know, I'm going to make you feel good. Man.
That was one of the funniest parts to me, is like it's at once a very Batman and very not Batman thing to do. Was he sets him up, he really does set him up well.
Yeah.
Like, sends him to prison with the dictate of the man who took down Batman for a second, and he can take the hit, who cares? But
yeah.
Sid, this idiot who had bad intentions for life, gets to, he gets a happy ending. It shouldn't be that way in theory, but whatever. Mm-hmm. He was harmless.
Yeah.
Figuratively and literally. That's how he's...
Everyone's cheering him on in the prison, and he's like, a big shot at last. Oh my gosh, it's great.
Yeah. Like, you're happy for him, and then if you overthink it, you're like, oh, fuck that guy. He was... Anyway.
All right, we need to get to number 9. This is one that I've never seen on any top 10 list. I Am the Night. Mm-hmm. Written by Michael Reeves, directed by Boyd Kirkland. On the anniversary of the death of Bruce's parents, Batman accompanies Leslie Tompkins to Crime Alley to place roses on the spot where they were gunned down. Meanwhile, Commissioner Gordon is on stakeout to arrest Jimmy the Jazzman Peak during a drug smuggling ring. Batman had promised to be there, but arrives late to find a gun battle going on. He helps defeat the gangsters and arrests the Jazzman, but at a high cost. Gordon is severely wounded. The incident traumatizes Batman, and he contemplates giving up his crime-fighting career, despite the Jazzman escaping prison to carry out his personal vendetta against Gordon, who had sent him to prison 6 years earlier. I love that this shows a war-weary Batman wondering if he's done any good.
Yeah, that was good.
It's a mature thing, a very mature thing to show, and also something any Batman fan should probably consider if taking the subject matter literally.
Yeah, vigilantism in general, you've got to wonder, how much effect do you have?
Yeah. And I love that it illustrates how important Jim Gordon is to Batman.
Yeah.
And to Bullock.
Oh, yeah. No, they both, they have this uncharacteristically large gaping mouth when they find out about Gordon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, they look like jack-o'-lanterns, frankly.
Yeah. And of course, it makes Bullock angry at Batman and blame him.
Yeah, sure. If he had been there,
it further establishes mortality in a fantastical kids show. I will always appreciate that.
That is nice.
One of the reasons it's one of my favorites is this line, Leslie telling Batman in Crime Alley. Santayana says those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. Batman says he also said a fanatic is someone who redoubles his efforts while losing sight of his goal.
Yeah.
What the hell is that doing in a kid's show?
I don't know, but it's pretty great. It's pretty great. And then later, like, the same 2 flowers he puts down get crushed.
Uh-huh. And
he's just horrified. I mean...
Yeah.
Horrified. It's a rough episode. I'm surprised. Yeah. I'm surprised that people followed it. I mean, this show was generally made for what, like 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds? That was theoretically the demographic. It's amazing.
I think it was made for me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Anybody else? I don't know about anybody else.
Care what age you are.
There's a bit where Batman says of Gordon, he's a friend, more than a friend. Jim Gordon's the same age my father would be if he hadn't, and he like chokes up and trails off. Now he's hanging by a thread. Oh my gosh, it's just so good. It's so good. And Gordon tells him at the end, when Gordon wakes up, they've caught the Jazzman, he tells him in the hospital, you gotta keep fighting, never stop. What I try to live by. Maybe if I'd been younger, I could have been like you.
Oh, that was haunting.
Always wanted to be a hero, and Batman says, you are a hero, Jim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
And it's so just absurdly true. Like,
And there's that great. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's one of the best versions of what they respect and love about each other. Is like Gordon wishes he could do what Batman can do, and then Batman like wishes he could be the hero that Gordon is. Like he wishes he didn't have to be two people sometimes, and that's clear, I think, in that episode. But you know, Bruce and Batman are. It's a dichotomy that has to be there, and Gordon respects the hell out of that, and everyone has this grass is greener kind of respect. I love it.
Yeah. And I didn't actually write down this quote because I thought it was too long, but there's this great quote where Batman is talking to Dick, and it's a long quote, and he says, there's a bit where he says, they sell t-shirts of me. Maybe I'm better for the tourist trade or something, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the turnaround on that episode hinges on Bruce coming back and, you know, in full get up and saying, "This is my fight, or it's my hunt," I think.
Yeah. Man, fantastic episode.
Also, a good example of, like, kind of a little later in the run, after Robin's established enough that he can push Bruce a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and here's another bit that, you know, Barbara, this is her first appearance from Heart of Steel, or since that episode, but all this talk of being a hero and shit, like, don't tell me that's not seeping into Barbara's brain.
Yeah.
As she's, like, seeing, like, who her dad is, how much he means to someone like Batman.
Yeah,
and how much someone like Batman means to her dad. Like, that's got to be having an effect. These are, I'm sorry, Batman and Harley Quinn was garbage, but they were good once.
Yeah.
Actually, neither of these cats wrote that terrible movie, so
that is accurate. So
yeah. All right, number 8, Joker's Favor, written by Paul Dini, directed by Boyd Kirkland. After a man named Charlie Collins curses at the Joker on the road for offensive driving, the clown prince of crime corners him and intimidates him into doing him a small favor. 2 years pass, and the Joker finally decides how to use Charlie to sneak a bomb into the Peregrinators Club. I don't know how to say that word. Where Commissioner Gordon is to give a speech at an award ceremony. Charlie, who merely has to open the door, is skeptical at first, but for the sake of his family, he reluctantly decides to obey. This should go without saying, but fantastic score for this episode. Shirley Walker, always fantastic, but this is probably one of those scores that I remember in my day-to-day life all the time. Like, I always remember it. It's a romp. It's the first appearance of Harley Quinn. It's, once again, and that's something thematic for my favorites, is the ordinary crossing paths with the extraordinary. Charlie Collins is a schlub, an ordinary guy, and I always sort of enjoy that, seeing how the ordinary people see Batman, see the Joker, and all of these, like, larger than life characters.
It's probably the best example of that is like this guy he cuts off the Joker in traffic.
Yeah.
And his life goes to hell
There's
immediately
your 2
after
cents.
it. Yeah, there's your 2 cents is one of my favorite lines of the entire series.
Now, what were you going to do to me?
Right. And then other stuff where he's just fucking with him later, like, you didn't think I'd lose track of you, that kind of stuff.
This is one of...
You're my favorite hobby, Chuck.
Yeah, the Joker is dangerous. We get a real sense of that here.
And like you
but
said,
he's
the
still
average person like sees the Joker and just chill goes down their spine.
Yeah. And
oh
this
my
guy's
God,
got people...
I'm going to die.
And this guy has got, like, Joker's got people watching this guy's family in case he doesn't do what he wants. He
has an entire dossier of him, an updated dossier of this guy at every turn.
But while it's creepy, and you get the sense that Joker is such a deeply disturbed, dangerous individual, which is something that I don't think we've ever seen in an animated version of the Joker before. It's so funny. He's so funny.
No, it's
just
good.
Jumping Jiminy Christmas, Charlie Collins. It's been forever.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
He's absolutely
you look great.
charming.
Lost a little weight, lost a little hair too.
Yeah. So you changed your
It's
name.
great.
You didn't think that would be a problem, did you?
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and has one of the best. God, as far as the nuanced relationship between Batman and Joker, that ending is fantastic.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that Charlie, like, because we start off with the episode with like Charlie resenting the cops. He resents Batman. He resents the Joker. He resents all these people for pushing him out of the way.
Yeah, it's
You
a
know?
bunch of people that have power that he doesn't.
And then he loses it. Like Joker promises to send him home, but not alive, as Joker points out. And Charlie freaking loses it, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's like for him, it's like he gets sucked up into this vacuum of supernatural, and just by the end of it, he comes to Fucketville.
Yeah. I love his speech at the end. Joker tells him, "You miserable little nobody, if I get caught, your wife and son are history." Charlie says, "You're not getting caught. Not this time." Shows him the bomb. "I found this blown out of the van. This is how it ends, Joker. No big schemes, no grand fight to the finish with a dark night. Tomorrow all the papers will say is the great Joker was found blown to bits in an alley alongside a miserable little nobody." Kind of funny. Ironic, really. See, I can destroy a man's dreams too. And that's really the only dream you've got, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing.
It's fantastic. Ed Begley Jr., by the way, doing that voice, doing Charlie Collins. Fantastic.
Oh, fuck yeah. And a great glimpse of like the Joker getting to look in a mirror and see the absolute most mundane, horrifying thing you could possibly see.
Yeah. Joker even says, "Stop, you're crazy." And Charlie goes, "I had a good teacher." Say goodnight, Gracie. Great episode. And it actually makes Batman laugh.
Yeah, you get an actual chuckle out of the Dark Knight.
Fantastic. Fantastic episode. And great... even knocking it out of the park with Harley, where after Joker leaves him stuck to the handle, he says, "Guess I'll have to find a new hobby now that old Charlie Collins is..." and Harley goes, "Macrame's nice." Oh, gosh.
She's come a long way.
Number 7. And I'm counting two-parters as one episode here. Two-Face. I can't not do this one. It's written by Alan Burnett. Part 1 was, the teleplay was Randy Rogel, directed by Kevin Altieri, I guess?
Sure. Altieri, I think I've heard that said.
All right, we'll go with that.
Why not?
Mobster Rupert Thorne attempts to use Harvey Dent's secret split personality to blackmail him, but when Dent meets with Thorne at a chemical plant, big bad horror takes over, and the resulting confrontation leads to an explosion that horribly scars half of Dent's face. Harvey Dent, now calling himself Two-Face, resurfaces and starts robbing Rupert Thorne's illegal businesses, preparing for a final confrontation with the crime boss. And Batman must stop his former friend before he and Thorne kill each other. Dude, it's just a fantastic turn of character for Harvey Dent, who up until that point had really been shown to be like this, pretty great district attorney, aside from little foreshadowings that he was flipping coins in the light, and you can only see half his face and stuff.
Yeah, I mean they let up a little bit, but still, like Bruce and Harvey obviously had a very chummy. It's actually the only relationship in the show that Bruce Wayne enjoys, I think.
Yeah, it's
that
his best
he doesn't
friend.
have some like responsibility toward, or like you can tell he values his relationship with Alfred and Robin, but or Dick, but he obviously like has some responsibility there, and like anytime you put anything on Bruce's shoulders, you can see it in the show. It weighs him down. This is like the one relationship I remember out of the show where he just has a friend, and that's cool, and there's really nothing there.
Yeah, and
then even that turns on him.
Yeah, it does. Grace and Harvey make me cry, man.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculously sad.
Yeah.
And Bruce, the way he equates the loss of his best friend with the loss of his parents, and that he couldn't save either one of them, is just...
It's rough.
It's hard, man.
It's really rough.
One quote from this episode that's always haunted me, it just stays in my head all the time. It's Rupert Thorne saying, "All men have something to hide. The brighter the picture, the darker the negative."
Oh.
It's a great quote.
Well said.
And of course, one of my favorites. "So what do you say, Harvey? Do we have a deal? There's just one problem." "What's that?" "You're talking to the wrong Harvey."
Yeah. was good.
Oh man. And there's a great Two-Face quote. "This is my world now, a dichotomy of order and chaos, just like me." Again, that's one of those. How is that in a children's TV show? But it's fantastic.
I don't know either.
It's just fantastic. I want to set like all the Arrowverse writers down and say, "This is what you do."
This show was done for 10-year-olds. You're shooting
You
for
write a
18
show-
to 49, and you're dumbing it down. Come on.
Please, no more exposition.
Yeah.
Um,
Now let's
but
give
yeah,
them the credit. They've gotten a little better.
a little bit.
They have. That last season was pretty good.
Yeah. I just said Arrowverse in general. I didn't want to call out any specific show.
Oh, sorry. I thought you just said Arrow for
Yeah.
a second there.
No. Arrowverse. Right now, I'm really mainly thinking about Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl.
I see.
Those are the worst at doing it right now, I would say. But anyway, we'll see. Upcoming season. Anyway, number 6 shouldn't be. You should have known this was going to be on the list. If you didn't, excuse me. Heart of Ice, written by Paul Dini, directed by Bruce Timm. Bitter scientist Victor Freeze attacks several divisions of GothCorp, each time stealing a piece for a secret weapon he intends to build. Batman investigates the connections and discovers that the start of Freeze's vendetta against GothCorp was a bitter falling out between Freeze and GothCorp CEO Ferris Boyle, as played by Mark Hamill, before he ever played the Joker. During which Boyle almost kills Freeze, and presumably kills Nora. Batman must find a way to bring Boyle to justice before Freeze carries out his revenge. So, this is actually the first one written by Paul Dini, first one directed by Bruce Timm. Ferris Boyle was Mark Hamill. That's enough for it to be on the list.
That's a lot. Back end, at least. But it'd be really difficult to find a top 10 that doesn't have Heart of Ice on it.
Dude, I mean, it's a simple story, but it's impactful. It changed the way that everyone saw Mr. Freeze. Before this episode, he was just, secondhand villain in the comic books.
Yeah.
No one gave a shit about.
He was an absolute nobody. He was an E-lister. I mean, no one...
They had even killed him off.
I don't doubt it.
Like, they killed him off in, 3 panels. In the miniseries Robin 2, back in, 91... Joker comes back to take back his gang, and Mr. Freeze is like, "The gang is mine now," and Joker shakes his hand and electrocutes him and basically just kills him.
Yeah.
Makes a few ice puns and walks away.
And
leaves
then
him to die.
Dini came in a couple months later and went, I have a better idea.
Yeah. So some of the quotes in this episode really hit home. It's a fantastic. I feel like it's a fantastic execution of emotion and of sadness, and I get all choked up thinking about all this stuff. Great quote. Mr. Freeze says, "Humanity, compassion, charity. Where were those pretty words when she needed to hear them?" Just man.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
And
delivered by the tears. Best monotone.
Yeah. Batman watches the tape of what happened to Freeze and his wife, and he goes, "My God." And Freeze goes, "Yes, it would move me to tears if I still had tears to shed."
Yeah.
But, stuff like this, think of it, Batman, to never again walk on a summer's day with a hot wind in your face and a warm hand to hold. Oh, yes, I'd kill for that. Dude, how? He's he's about to freeze and kill Ferris Boyle. Mm-hmm. And Boyle says, "Stop, please, I beg you." "You beg? In my nightmares, I see my Nora from behind the glass, begging to me with frozen eyes. How I've longed to see that look frozen on you." Mm-hmm. And then even Batman is disgusted by Ferris Boyle, leaves him half frozen, says, "Good night, humanitarian."
Good luck, you sick fuck. That's
And then the closing monologue from Freeze as he talks to Nora. "I failed you. I wish there were another way for me to say it, but I cannot. I can only beg your forgiveness and pray you hear me somehow, someplace where a warm hand waits for mine." Oh man, how do you not cry about that?
Yeah, it's rough.
That is The only thing that I hate about this episode
He's got the
is...
snow globe with the little dancer while he does it.
Yeah. The only thing that... It almost knocked it out, but it just couldn't. I had to have it in the top 10. Batman, the way Batman defeats Freeze in this thing. Do you remember it?
No. I remember the emotion, and I remember some weeping.
Yeah.
But
because
I don't remember
Batman was frozen. He was trapped in some ice earlier in the episode, and he got a cold. And Batman says, if you're going to go sneaking around in a crowded office building, you'll need this. Knockout gas, chicken soup, the only way to fight a cold. And that's how he hits Freeze in the head with this like thermos full of chicken soup.
Of course.
That Alfred gave him. That was like the big weak point of the episode.
Yeah, I remember that now. That is lame.
Even that's kind of is kind of charming.
Yeah.
All right. On to number 5, Robin's Reckoning. Written by Randy Rogel, directed by Dick Sebast. During a fight with some gangsters at a construction yard, Batman and Robin learn the name of their boss, Billy Marin. While Robin looks forward to going up against Marin, Batman becomes distant, and after a falling out of the Batcave, Batman doesn't allow Robin to accompany him on the search for Marin. Robin investigates in the Batcomputer and soon realizes that Billy Marin is not the boss's real name. Rather, it is an alias of Tony Zuko, the man who killed his parents, which Batman already knew but chose not to tell Robin. Angered by Batman's deceit, Robin sets out to find Tony Zuko on his own. All the while plagued by the memories of his parents' death and how Bruce took him in as his own son. Eventually, Batman manages to find Zuko at an old amusement park, but breaks his leg during the fight. Robin finally arrives and prepares to kill Zuko in revenge. This is the first big throwdown between Batman and Dick, as far as I can tell. And this is something. This episode raises issues that follow through to the rest of the series, the rest of the continuity. They come to an end peaceably at the end of this, but the way Batman handles Dick, that sounds awful. The way Batman talks to Dick and treats him, and the way Dick sort of overreacts to these things is a big waving red flag that their relationship is not all that it should be.
Yeah. No. It kind of like starts a pattern where I think you can sum up Nightwing's character in a lot of ways as fuck you, old man, I know what's best for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got a point to some degree. Like, at parts of this episode, Robin does seem like he is a spoiled kid. But at the same time, in this episode, he's... Where Batman's like, there are times where I can't explain my actions even. He's, yeah, even to me. That line worked great when I was 6. Mm-hmm. Or whatever it was. No, it wasn't 6, but it was, in 6th grade. That's what it was.
Yeah, okay.
He does need to do, and it's a fine point that Batman makes at the end. I wasn't worried about what you would do to Zuko. I just couldn't stand the thought of him taking you as well.
Yeah,
that's great, but
it's a good emotional turnaround.
Yeah. Plus they have that badass part where Robin skids on his bike and is totally like from Akira. I found out that Bruce Timm apparently cries about this every time, and so do I. The flashback scene where Dick says goodbye to all of his circus friends before going to Wayne Manor. So yeah, that always, I think it's the elephant. The elephant gets me.
All right. I can see it.
Great quotes. Great quotes in the episode. Batman tells Zuko's uncle, Arnie Stromwell, if you protect him, Stromwell, I'll be very grumpy. You don't want to see me grumpy. A great line from the flashback. Sorry. Batman says, I was so close, Alfred. I could smell his sweat. From now on, Tony Zuko gets my undivided attention. And Alfred says, how fortunate for Zuko, because there's a little boy up there who's just aching for some of that attention.
Oh, that was rough.
Yeah, I'm doing this for him. I'm sure revenge can be deliciously sweet. However, at the moment, he needs a friend. Isn't that what you needed, sir? Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn you, Alfred. Damn you and your fills.
And then subsequently, when Bruce goes to talk to him, and they're looking at the the picture of Bruce's parents. He says, "You keep thinking, if only I'd done something differently. If only I could have warned them. But there isn't anything you could have done. There isn't anything either of us could have done." And Dick goes, "Your mom and dad? Does the hurt ever go away?" And Bruce says, "I wish I could say yes, but it'll get better in time." Ah,
Yeah.
man, I love this show. And, also Zuko at the docks or whatever, he's like, "I'm not back in town. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and he's on my tail. You don't know the bat. He don't let up. He's a dark angel of death, man, and he wants me."
That's about right.
This is a good show. It's a good episode.
Again, Dark Angel of Death for a kid show. Jesus.
He's a dark angel of death, man.
I really think what is now a quarter of a century ago, I think people had more faith in children's ability to watch things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
For better or worse. Not all.
Yeah.
I think this show is probably a better. There's definitely some worse out there.
Oh, yeah. All right, so number 4 on the list, Over the Edge. I think this is the only episode from the new Batman Adventures that's on the list. Written by Paul Dini.
What are you gonna do, man?
Directed by
It's good, it's
Yuichiro
good.
Yano. During a fight with the Scarecrow, Batgirl is ambushed on a rooftop and falls to her death. Having watched his daughter's demise, Jim Gordon blames Batman for her fate and vows revenge, recruiting Bane in the process. This episode is really cool because even though it's not real, it's a fun what if, and it's a twist at the end. Which if you watch the Batman Beyond at the same time or whatever, that she's not dead. But
Yeah, and
it's a cool what if.
It is an annoying twist because it's an episode that doesn't actually happen.
Yeah,
But it is.
and believe me, that was almost enough to keep it out of the top 10.
I think it's it is always annoying to do the Bob Newhart thing, but
Yeah,
it's also or the Newhart thing, I should say. So
yeah.
that's annoying.
Or the Dallas thing.
Yeah. But it kind of did it well enough, and it never apologized for it, and it only did it once. It just did one little "what if this happened" kind of thing. Mm-hmm. There's some other versions of Elseworld kind of tales on this show, but this was the one time where I think they committed to the premise outright, went for it, and we had to buy it and then deal with that.
Well,
twist.
I appreciated being able to see what at least a version of what could go down, and no one knows Commissioner Gordon as well as his daughter does.
Yeah.
So
that was probably the other part of why it works is it goes so far. You're so wrapped up in the episode, and these things are like 21 minutes long when you really watch them. You're so wrapped up for a good 18 minutes that I don't think it really occurs to you to be annoyed or I every time I've watched it I know what the ending is, but I'm still so wrapped up.
Yeah. There's a great well, okay, just Gordon coming after Wayne, acknowledging that he's always known who Batman was,
Sure.
which is crazy. Obviously, just that was in Barbara's head, but we have the bit where
But it's still it's a very
Montoya
distracting start.
says you have the right to remain silent to Nightwing.
The episode,
and he goes waved.
That's what I'm saying is there's part of you that should be thinking, oh, this is going to be fake. But if you just watch it, it's distracting enough for 20 minutes, and that's all it requires, that you don't care.
Yeah, Batman stops killing people. He starts killing people. Like, he decides that it's fine because there's no point in stopping now. He's wanted. He's
right. He's a fugitive. Who the hell cares anymore?
He's a fugitive. Yeah. You have Bane. Man, this line is one of the reasons I love it so much. Bane says, "I'm pleased you remember me, Mr. Wayne. You can't believe how I've looked forward to this, though I was hoping for more of a fight. But what could I expect from a killer of children?" Damn.
That's rough.
It's just great. So the dream ends. The dream ends, and we get Barbara deciding that she has to tell her dad about her double life. And we get this, and this is the other reason. This is one of the other big reasons. This is part of my favorites. We have Gordon sit down and says, "Sweetheart, you're capable of making your own decisions. You don't need me to approve or even acknowledge them. And in this case, I can't. All you need to know is I love you, all of you. And that's all I have to say on this subject." I always cry when he says that shit.
Oh yeah,
Because it's like, yeah, I know you're Batgirl, dude. What do you think? I'm a cop. Come on, I'm Commissioner Gordon.
obviously I know.
Of course I know.
Yeah,
I know who Bruce Wayne is. I know who you are.
it's maybe the best part is it hints early on that I've always known, and then later it comes back and just mentions it again. It's a fantastic. Like Gordon is completely cognizant the entire time.
Yeah,
And they don't address it much. Like they talk about several times. They talk about maybe he knows, but it's this time it's like no, seriously, he's the best cop in Gotham.
Yeah, of course. I've heard some people say that this might, he wasn't thinking about Batgirl. Maybe this was him saying that he's kind of okay with Bruce slipping her the pickle.
No,
Is
that post-killing joke?
No, that was in the animated series.
In the original run?
Yeah, because remember they're not in the actual show, but in Batman Beyond, it comes out that Barbara and Bruce had a relationship around the time of the new Batman Adventures.
Yeah, that was definitely mentioned. But
and then in the subsequent comic books,
popular again after after the killing jokes.
Oh,
very obviously laying pipe.
No, I think it was. It was the comic books that came after the DCAU comic books that came after, where they basically had a whole thing where Barbara got pregnant by Bruce.
Oh, okay.
And then she wound up having a miscarriage or something.
That would be fitting
because she was in a fight. Yeah, it was pretty rough. It's pretty dark, but
sounds like a good story.
A little weird. I've never been even in this show. I've never been a proponent of Batman and Barbara. It was just weird.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. I can ship Dick and Barbara all day, but never been huge on Bruce and Barbara.
Yeah, of course it does make sense. It makes sense emotionally if you're working alongside somebody that long and you can't really talk to anybody about it but that person. And,
sure,
I mean, Dick's already kind of gone off to his own city, and then that would further the issues between Dick and Bruce. Yeah,
sure.
Okay. I'm just saying I don't feel comfortable with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Number 3. Perchance to Dream. You knew this was going to be on there. Written by Lauren Bright and Michael Reeves, directed by Boyd Kirkland. Bruce Wayne wakes up one morning to find that his life is completely upside down. His parents are alive, the Batcave does not exist, Alfred does not remember Robin, and he is engaged to Selina Kyle. However, it doesn't mean that Batman isn't still around, and Bruce starts to wonder what has happened, especially after seeing the characteristics of a dream, such as book and newspaper prints not making sense inside of this new life. This is something I pulled off of the Wikia that I found interesting, and I had never really considered it before. I wish I had, because that would mean I'm smarter than I am. It says the title comes from a line in the famous "To Be or Not to Be" soliloquy from the play Hamlet. I did know that, in which Prince Hamlet debates with himself whether or not to commit suicide, or to face the cruel travails of the world, and specifically the task of avenging his dead father, which has been put before him. This is a subtle but intriguing parallel not only to the story of the episode itself, but to the story of Batman in general. Also, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman in the series, appears in a number of Shakespeare plays during the 80s before being cast on the show.
Okay, but so many people did, and
yeah. But the parallel of the story, I had not thought about before, and that's really neat. I like the idea that that Bruce can't accept a nice and good life because he's Batman. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he's trying to accept the facade as opposed to what he knows is real.
Yeah.
Like, even with you would think, he would be able to be like, yeah, you know what? I'll take my parents being alive. So what? I can't read a book. But give it a decade, it won't matter.
Yeah. It's like a lot of people. I don't know. I think it's just extremely relatable. Like, you would like to think that you would know if reality just folded in on itself. But and in his case, it's hard to watch him make that decision. Because you know how much he wants to stay there. Like, everyone's had some experience that was traumatic enough that, like, if you have a dream where you're back in that honeymoon period before it all went wrong, you feel good about it for a second. And then you maybe wake up immediately after that and think, and you kind of go through it all again, almost. And even have some, like, sense of shame and regret about it, which I assume he did in the episode. But, It's
Yeah.
rough to watch him go through.
Yeah. And the showdown between Bruce and Batman on the Watchtower at the very end is probably one of my favorite scenes of the animated series. You have Batman unmasked and this revealed to be the Mad Hatter, and I love Roddy McDowell so much.
Yeah,
I just
he did a great job.
He's amazing. But the you the dreamer or merely a part of someone's dream? That was just the question Tweedledee put to Allison through the looking. This isn't some silly storybook. But it is. It's a beautiful story. You have love, wealth, a family, all you ever wanted, your own private wonderland. And, he's about to jump over the thing. You don't want to do anything foolish. This isn't an ordinary dream. What if you're wrong? Then I'll see you in your nightmares. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. And then that bit at the end where, like, Gordon's holding the the Mad Hatter's dream machine. He's like, something for the lab boys to play with. Any idea what it is? And Batman says, yes. The stuff that dreams are made of.
Yeah.
With like a sad, wistful look.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. I mean, it's like noir camp, but it's great.
There's definitely enough subtlety in there, and even with the camp, there's enough subtlety in there to. It's got a lot of feels. It just does.
Yeah. So number 2, It's Never Too Late. Teleplay by Garen Wolfe, written by Tom Ruger, and directed by Boyd Kirkland. A mob war between crime bosses Rupert Thorne and Arnold Stromwell is nearing its end, and comes to a climax when Stromwell is set up to be killed in an exploding restaurant by Thorne. Batman saves him at the last moment, and aided by Stromwell's brother, now a priest who lost his leg years before an accident for which Stromwell carries a secret guilt, tries to persuade him to give up his life of crime and help the police bring Thorne down by testifying against him. I don't have quotes for this. This is one of the most heart-wrenching episodes. We keep flashing back to Arnold Stromwell as a kid with his brother Mike. Arnie is a bad kid. He steals. He's playing on the train tracks. Mike is talking to him, telling him he shouldn't steal, etc., etc. And of course, Mike winds up saving his brother from an oncoming train and loses his leg. And they grew up on 2 different paths. Stromwell becoming the top crime boss in Gotham, and his brother Mike becoming a priest. And it's just heart-wrenching. Like, at the same time as all this is going on, he's looking for his kid, and he believes that Stromwell believes that Thorne has taken his kid, and come on, Arnie, I don't mess with family. And Batman sort of takes him around and shows him, winds up bringing him to a rehabilitation clinic, and where his ex-wife is, and she says, he's been here, he's sick, he's trying to recover from the drugs, he got hooked on the drugs that you're pushing. Just watching Stromwell crumble emotionally under the weight of the tower of sin he's created for himself,
right,
is fantastic. And I very specifically say Tower of Sin because of the allusions to the priest Mike, his brother, and how Mike is trying to get him down the right path, and Mike even tells Batman
Tower of Babel kind of allusions.
No, not really.
Okay,
I'm just saying Stromwell has built himself a tower, a castle of sin, of ill will, of pushing drugs and running guns and all sorts of terrible things. That's wound up costing him his marriage and his son. It's pretty rough, man. And the whole time, you've got his brother Mike, who even tells Batman, "There's a soul I wish I could give up on," and Batman's like, "You don't believe that," And at the end, Stromwell begs forgiveness from Mikey and tells him that he'll make the statement. And therein, from that point on in the show, Stromwell isn't there. He's not a big boss. He's gone.
Yeah.
That episode always struck a real chord with me. It wasn't about gaudy villains. It wasn't about comic book shenanery. It was...
Yeah. No, there's definitely a theme in this top 10 of, like, extraordinary versus ordinary, and this is another great example. So, on the one hand, the criticism of it as a top 10 pick, and especially a number 2, would be it's not a very Batman-centric episode.
Except it is.
But the rebuttal is that, no, this is what happens to actual people in a world where they have to face Batman as, this idyllic representation of justice.
Yeah, I saw someone with this episode mention that that there were like allusion. It may have been on the Wikia. Mentioned that it was like a Christmas Carol, how Batman was kind of playing the different ghosts, taking him to different parts of his life or something.
That's actually fair. Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far necessarily. It's kind of fun to think about, but
there's something. Yeah, I can do that.
This episode just always gets me, always makes me cry. Just see the great Arnold Stromwell be brought down by his own machinations,
right?
And finally do the right thing. I don't know. It always gets me.
Yeah.
All right. So number 1, Almost Got Him, written by Paul Dini. Paul Dini, directed by Eric Radomski. I don't know, but. Synopsis: The Joker, Killer Croc, the Penguin, Two-Face, and Poison Ivy all meet at a poker table, each telling a tale of times when they almost defeated Batman. At the same time, Harley Quinn is about to kill Catwoman after she rescued Batman from the Joker's electric chair, and Batman must save her. Alright, so this episode is a rare look at like interplay between villains. I love this. Their criticism of each other and their methods are hilarious. It's a fun anthology episode. It's whimsical as hell. It has a twist ending. And there are so many different ways to get someone.
You could throw a rock, for instance.
Yeah. So this right here is off the wiki. Every time the viewer gets to see Two-Face's hand, he always has 2 deuces and 2 face cards, a play on his name. In one shot, he also has a 4, 2 times 2, and is seen pouring half and half in his coffee. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. I remember the Joker's and the aces.
Yeah. The Joker's hand at the end is 4 aces and a joker. Every time we see his hand, he always has at least 1 ace due to cheating. He also cheats by looking at Two-Face's hand.
Yeah.
Also, the Joker cracks a joke at Poison Ivy about her use of exploding pumpkins. Ironically, 2 years after this episode, Mark Hamill, who voices Joker, would voice the Hobgoblin in the 1994 series Spider-Man, playing a supervillain who utilizes exploding pumpkins.
That's perfect.
A lot of great quotes in this episode. It's not an especially deep episode. It's really not.
No, it's just not like
so
there's
much
an emotional gauntlet to get up to this episode in this top 10. This one isn't that. This one's just a lot of damn fun.
It is. A lot of great quotes. Poison Ivy says, "It's been a long time, Harvey. You're still looking halfway decent." And Two-Face says, "Half of me wants to strangle you." And she says, "And what does the other half want?" And he says, "To hit you with a truck." And Poison Ivy looks over at Joker and Penguin and goes, "We used to date." And they go, "Ah." Fantastic. Joker has Joker's just funny, man. I love the Joker in this show so much. Hamill is my Joker. The fact of the matter is, we each have an almost got him Batman story. I know mine's the best, but let's hear yours anyway. I'd say ladies first, but since we don't have any, we'll start with you, Pam. Great line from Poison Ivy in this episode. "I have this natural immunity to poisons, toxins, the pain and suffering of others." Go figure.
Nice.
A lot of great 2 puns here. Two-Face says, if it hadn't been for this blasted coin, I would have got him." Joker says, "Gee, that's too bad, Harv. But I guess you'll always come in second." Of course, the Killer Croc. "There I was, holed up in this quarry, when Batman came nosing around. He was getting closer, and I threw a rock at him."
Yeah.
Penguin, "I find your petty machinations mildly diverting, but for sheer criminal genius, none surpasses my latest ornithologically inspired entoilment." "Smaller words, please, you're losing Croc." Great bit with Harley to Catwoman. I had a kitty once. You know, they don't always land on their feet.
Yeah.
That's terrible. And of course, there's a great bit at the end where they kind of throw the idea on its head a little bit, and Catwoman says, "Thanks for coming for me." Batman says, "I owed you." Catwoman says, "I'd like to think our relationship isn't just restricted to saving each other from freaks and weirdos, and that maybe we'd have a place for each other without Gotham, without the freaks, maybe without masks." She leans forward to kiss him, and then she gets distracted, and Batman swings away, and she goes, "Huh, almost got him."
Yeah.
Nice little, furtherance of their relationship. That was fun.
Yeah. And it did take it from a let's compare, Tales of the Fish We Caught story to something, kind of cute.
Yeah.
And a little realish in the series. Not the first time they were flirty.
Joker keeps saying that there's so many different ways to get someone, and his little plan about grinding Catwoman up to make her into cat food. That's just sick, man.
Sounds right for him, man.
Oh, absolutely.
No, he'd feed it to a bunch of upside down fish. Start the entire process over again.
All right, so you want to get to honorable mentions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, honorable mentions here in no specific order. Christmas with the Joker. It was close, man. I love the bit where he's like got Summer Gleason, and she's like, but my grandmother's on that train, and he just makes a few jokes, and she cries.
Yeah,
like that was rough, but I love that episode, but yeah, it barely didn't make it.
I understand.
Beware the Gray Ghost. Adam West, I wanted it to be there. I love the bit about watching the Gray Ghost with the father, with Thomas Wayne. But,
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a really tough one. If there's any reason to leave it off, it might be because it's kind of sister story on Brave and the Bold.
Okay.
Is maybe the top 10 over there.
Yeah, maybe so.
That might be a decent reason to leave it off here. It's just because it's got good market share.
Yeah. Feet of Clay, the first Clayface origin story.
Scarring, honestly.
Scarring,
really
disturbing, and beautifully animated, but overall I felt like there wasn't enough, there wasn't enough sympathy for Clayface, I think.
Yeah,
like, he just enjoyed being evil a little too damn much for me to really feel it.
Yeah, like part 2 definitely gets... Yeah, part 2 I agree. Part 1 was horrifying for many reasons.
Absolutely.
Like the way he rubs it into his face, and it like... Visually, it was disturbing as a child.
Just panning away and seeing the silhouette of them pouring it down his throat,
right, and
drowning him in it,
and hearing the kind of sounds behind it. It was rough, man. I mean, that was. I think I grew up a little bit watching that episode.
Yeah. Harley and Ivy, a fun romp of an episode, and great to see Harley get away from the Joker, and Pam kind of be like, he's a dick. You really need to stop being around that guy.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff in that episode, and I love the ending where they get away from Joker and Batman, and Ivy yells out, "No man can take us down," and of course Lieutenant Montoya takes him down.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. I enjoyed that, and of course it set the precedent for all further Harley and Ivy occurrences throughout fandom and the comics. This one was a tough one to get off, to take off of the top 10. His Silicone Soul is a sequel to the Heart of Steel episodes, where Hardak had created a robot version of Bruce Wayne and slash Batman, and somewhere in at some point he gets out and shows up at Wayne Manor with his electronic guts hanging out and doesn't know what's happened to him.
Right.
Some really heart-wrenching scenes where Silicone Batman goes to see Rossum and just doesn't understand how he could possibly be a robot, because he has all these memories and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, but do you remember your first kiss? Do you remember your third birthday. You have data, you have facts. You don't remember anything. It's just hard.
The thing I really empathized with that is like, no, I don't necessarily remember my third birthday.
Yeah, but I don't even remember if that's actually what he said. Is that what he said? I don't even know.
I don't know. It's the kind of like I remember what you're saying. Like he says like how much of the story can you fill out? And I don't know how much my story I can fill out for damn sake. It's scary.
But he kind of goes bad, and he kind of he can't handle it. He kind of goes after Batman.
Yeah.
He thinks he's killed Batman, and then that bit at the end where he's like, "What have I done? I've taken a life," and he kills himself. And then Batman is just like, could it be he had a soul, Alfred? I don't know. I love this. Is a sci-fi fan in me. I always love when robots get a little too close to humanity, and that question has to be asked.
It's a theme that's been hanging around for a long time. But yeah, like some Twilight Zone, some Outer Limits. I've seen a couple episodes of each of those.
Oh yeah,
address the issue fantastically, obviously, and this one did well.
Yeah. House and Garden.
Rough episode.
Yeah, it's a fine episode. It's pretty charming. There's some big plant creatures taking down people and kidnapping and shit, and Batman is all the time checking out Poison Ivy, and she's got this family and seems pretty nice, and even fools him into thinking that maybe she's okay until Robin kind of goes, "Wait, something's wrong." Chris and Kelly are girls. Her kids are supposed to be girls, and they go back. She's growing her husband and her kids. And
they expire.
It's disturbing as hell. She's like growing them from these plant pods.
Yeah.
But the real kicker is at the last bit at the end. She disappears and they can't find her. And Bruce mentions that she had him fooled. And we see her on a plane, and she's looking at a picture of her family that she's now lost.
Well, he says
crying.
He says like she had me fooled. I think she actually wanted, like I thought she actually wanted to change or something. And then you go back to her on a plane looking at family photographs, and just before the episode ends, you just see like tears welling up in her eyes, and that's rough, man. That was good.
It was like she wanted normalcy, but she wanted it on her own terms. And
yeah, she was still Poison Ivy, but there was a part of her that was really affected. I don't know. It was rough, and it was like they did a great job of him dropping in on her and kind of rooting for a decision, and then like him being a little heartbroken too. It was good.
Yeah.
Like the Harley episode where it's very similar has one of my favorite lines in it where like Harley, Harley gets out and she has her whole adventure, and she wants to be good, but every time she goes somewhere, she's Harley, and she's just becomes the villain, and then she accepts, like, if that's who you want me to be, I'll be. Anyway, she ends up back, but there's like this moment where she just wanted to legitimately buy a dress, and then that's the catalytic moment that sends her back into villainy, and he just shows up with the dress and gifts it to her as she's being taken back to her cell, and says like, I had a bad day too once.
Yeah.
That line freaking crushes me every time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That almost made it to the honorable mentions.
Yeah, I could see it.
Alright, so the next honorable mention is Legends of the Dark Knight. It's the kids were walking around talking about what they believe Batman to be like. One kid thinks it's like the old Dick Sprang books, and they kind of do a really very cartoony, ridiculous version of that with giant typewriters. And then like the girl suddenly becomes Kelly and talks about the Dark Knight Returns.
Sure.
And in between there's like a kid who looks like Joel Schumacher, and he has on like a pink feather boa, and he's like, "Are you guys talking about Batman? I love Batman," with that like hard bolted rubber and driving his car up buildings and stuff.
Right.
And they were like, "Get real, Joel." The reason it doesn't make it to the top 10, honestly, is because the last segment is so underwhelming when they actually come into contact with Batman and he's fighting Firefly. I'm like, first of all, why Firefly? Because lame.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you know, if you guys want to like, you know, harsh on me for it, you can just go and listen to the DVD commentary because the creators have the same problem with the episode.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
take that. But yeah, otherwise it'd be a fantastic episode to throw on the top 10. One that I didn't add to the top 10 for a very petty reason. Mad Love. Fantastic episode that shows just how sick Joker and Harley's relationship is. Mm-hmm. Fantastic origin story for Harley Quinn, showing how sick and manipulative Joker is. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't put it on there because I can't stand looking at that design of the Joker.
Oh, the bug design?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to deal with. I understand.
I hate that design of the Joker. I hate that they used that design for that episode. I love the comic dearly. I have a T-shirt with the comic book cover on it.
Yeah.
But that episode, while it was a fantastic episode, the Joker just looks awful. Can't do it.
It does. It's hard to deal with later. But
Yeah,
it does have
they changed it later.
How does that line go? She got closer than you ever did.
Yeah, puddin'.
One of the great examples of Batman actually telling a joke, for God's sake. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so I actually won't spoil this one, but Judgment Day. It was one of the new Batman adventures, just like Mad Love was, and it was a pretty fitting and satisfactory and chilling, haunting into the Two-Face arc over the course of the series, and pretty fantastic. And I wanted to put it in the top 10. I just couldn't do it.
I understand.
I don't have a specific reason. I really don't. I basically just had to weigh my options and pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just down to real estate, Two-Face's, two-parter was slightly more top 10 favorite.
Yeah.
Worthy.
Yeah. And I think, it was a strong story, but I think should have been a two-parter. And also, it was hard for me to put any of the new Adventures of Batman on because I disliked the animation quality.
Aesthetically, it changed a ton. That's
it became so simplistic.
Yeah.
Lastly, though, Harlequinade from the original animated series, and that was another tough one to take off. Harley helping Batman find Joker with his atomic bomb. Her realization, thanks to Dick, that they wouldn't have had time Joker wouldn't have had time to swing by Arkham and pick up Harley or any of their friends. Who, of course, Joker wasn't going to go and do that, but
right.
And then, of course, she turns on the Joker. It was one of those big turning points for Harley as a character.
I think it set in motion something that's been happening for 22, 23 years now. I mean,
I guess so, yeah.
She's kind of been independent for a long time, whereas she really did just start as a henchman. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the episodes that started to kind of galvanize her as an independent character, and people started really rooting for her.
I mean, she does go back to him at the end of the episode.
Yeah, but you start to see where it could lead. I mean, we're talking about a person who they've rebooted the actual comics franchise twice now, and she's still got her own title. Yeah,
I mean, why wouldn't she? She's more popular than the Joker now.
Yeah.
She just is.
Yeah. I mean, she wandered into anti-hero land, which is way more marketable than just,
Yeah.
He can't do that.
So what about you, man? Did you have anything that I didn't mention that you had the Lord laid on your heart, I guess? I don't know.
No. There's some moments I remember, but it's a good list. I mean, as far as moments go, like the Killer Croc episode where he's dealing with the Sill Boy.
Yeah, the freak show.
Freak show
in the woods there.
Yeah, that was good.
It just
Harley's little adventure. Really enjoyed that. I don't know how much I would add to it or take away. It's again you could grab any 40 of the best and call it a top 10 and another honorable mention 10, and I would probably be pretty okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all stuff like The Forgotten. Just
Yeah.
like Bruce Wayne doesn't remember he's Bruce Wayne and he's in a canyon somewhere
Right.
on a chain gang. What the hell was that episode?
Or actually, good episode to back you up on. Just Bugface Joker just wasn't enough. Like Joker's Millions, I really loved Joker's Millions,
Yeah.
but that Bugface
I'll
Joker
tell you
is
one.
so distracting.
Yeah, I'll tell you one that didn't even it didn't even make the top. It didn't even make the top 20 because of Bugface Joker. Old Wounds from the new Batman Adventures, where Tim and Dick are talking to each other about what Batman did to like make Dick so angry with him. That one probably would have been one that I would have put on, but I hate Bugface Joker, and obviously like I didn't feel like it hit as hard as some of the others. So I don't know, man. I mean,
Yeah, they started to simplify the animation. It was really distracting at some point, but I mean, I understand how it happened, but
oh yeah, sure. They were the that black paper was killing people.
yeah,
They said so. I understand.
It was rough, but
All right. You got anything else?
yeah.
Cool. I think we're going to wrap it up then, guys. What did you guys think of the top 10? Send us your top 10. What do you think? How'd you feel?
Please
Happy?
don't kill us.
Sad? What? No, do tell us. Come. Twitter.
No, please don't
Facebook.
kill us.
Oh, don't kill us. I thought
Yeah.
you said please don't tell us. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We tweet at DC On Screen. You can like us on Facebook. And you can absolutely send us a voicemail, 205-259-6331. And let us know if you like this episode. We may do another one. We might do a Superman animated series or a Batman Beyond or something. Maybe a top 5 on those.
Beyond's probably worth at least 7.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't think there was much to go on with Superman the other day, and we were talking, and I just started like naming shit off the top of my head, like, oh, that was a good one. Oh, that was a good one. Oh,
Yeah.
man, that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn it, I think I have a top 20 at least for Superman.
No, don't do that to yourself. It's probably worth 5. Beyond 7 to 10.
I could probably do 10, definitely.
I mean, I can do 3 right now. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
all thing.
Anyway, if you guys want to hear that, let us know, and we'll probably do it anyway, even if you don't say it, but we'll do it because that's how we roll.
That's the spirit.
And you know what? We if you like our show and you really want to hear more from us, it would be really awesome if you went over to iTunes and left us a review, left us a good rating and review,
Obviously.
if you dig it. So anyway, we're gonna take off. We'll be back for our weekly show. So until then, keep some DC on your screen. Our opening narration was from Dan Jurgens' The History of the DC Universe, Part 3 of 10, as featured in DC 52 Week 4. It was performed by me, David Z. Robertson. Intro music by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band Future Elevators can be found on Spotify or future-elevators.com. Our introduction was performed by Eli Ophelders of Stealing the Remote, which lives on SoundCloud and can be found on iTunes and Stitcher. We're a proud member of the Giant Size Team Up Network, GiantSizeTeamUp.com. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. Visit maladjusted.tv for more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy and improvised web series, vlogs, parodies, and more.